That's a young fella called Brian Cadd coming through the ranks. A new album that was released last Friday, Rob. We often get accused of playing old people's music, but to get an album that's only been out 8 days, I think is pretty good to get the young artist coming through on the wireless.
And I think he might have an announcement about what's happened in those 8 days when you chat live to our guest, Neil.
Who we got?
We got a gentleman by the name of Brian Cadd who has been making me love music for, well, since I was 10, I reckon. 11 maybe, 1968. Brian Cadd, good morning and welcome back for your third visit to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show.
I'm so glad to be back. Fantastic.
Congratulations on the album. It turned up I got it the day before it was released, pre-release. What a spectacularly good album.
Well, thank you so much. I must say I'm very happy, extremely happy with it. And, you know, it's a bit of a departure for me, a country record.
Yeah.
It's not really a departure for me musically because I've always skated around the edge of that. You know, songs like Let Go and Arkansas and those kind of things were really all country songs. It's just that I sort of started out when I was young on the rock and roll path, and that's sort of pretty much where I stayed. But I was very much involved with country music. I lived in Nashville for 5 years, and I had a studio there, and it was, you know, a great learning curve. So when we got to talk about this new album, doing a new album, the record company said, well, just, you know, put some songs together and see how it all feels. So I, you know, got all my little bits of paper and recordings and demos and stuff. And after about 2 weeks, I'd come up with a list of songs, and when I looked at them, they really all fitted together, which doesn't always happen on albums. And not only that, but they all were definitely heading towards country. Just wonderful.
Yeah, because that was one of the questions I was going to ask. It definitely has a country feel to it. Was it, you know, an intention to go, I'm going to make a country album, or at the end of it, as you just said, you know, no, it's going to sound a bit country?
No. Well, one thing that happened, two things happened, apart from getting the songs, you know, all stretched out looking at each other. And I'd moved back from New York to the Gold Coast a couple of years ago, and I've recently discovered this wonderful studio up here. It's a spectacular place, run by a lunatic called Lindsay Waddington. And he has surrounded himself with the most incredible country players, you know, and singers and musicians. So it's just tremendous talent there. And it was sort of, oh, well, you know, I've got all the songs in a row and I've got a place to land, and these musicians are going to take me where they want to take me. Let's go. You know, I'm 77 years old. I've got nothing to lose. and off we went. And, you know, it was quite a surprise to me. At the end of the second day or so, I was just beginning to think to myself, this is much better and different than I thought it was going to be. And, you know, 2 weeks later, we realised that we did have a country album. We were getting to be very proud of it. And, it took us a few months to really finish it and overdub and stuff. But the essence of it all went down very quickly in a couple of weeks, which is a great sign, I always think. If it takes you 2 years to get the first song down, you know you're not doing something wrong.
Brian, in the 8 days since the release, tell us how the general public have accepted it.
This is what's been so lovely. You know, a lot of times it takes a while to kind of get into the audience's psyche that there's a new piece out there. But this was really, really, you know, just almost instantly people started buying it and downloading it and whatever. And a lot of pre-orders even before the thing was released. But what's astounding is that the depths of people that have bought it, you know, everyone from mates of mine in the industry who are definitely rock and roll people, through to people that, you know, were around in the 60s, and a surprising number of young people. It's really gratifying that acceptance has been great. And also, I must say that you guys, you know, the industry has been really, really wonderfully supportive, you know, and playing the tracks and interviewing me and talking to me, and, you know, it's just a wonderful new thing. It's great. I wish I'd taken better care of myself now.
No, I think the thing, though, Brian, and this is not to, you know, give you a nice warm feeling in the bases of your pocket, but when we have people like you who are genuinely nice people, who, when we spend time with you, it's an enjoyable experience, there's no ego to jump over, and you create really good music, it's not very difficult for us to entertain ourselves for 20, 25 minutes on the phone talking to you and playing your songs.
Good. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where would we find the album on the album country charts after 8 days, Brian?
Well, I'm pleased to tell you that you'll find it at number 1.
Well, that saves us a lot of mucking around, doesn't it? We don't have to read down the list to find it.
Congratulations. It's really good. And I suppose there's an element of Brian Cadd, anything he does, I love and will buy it. But there's also, as you said, it's not really the way people would remember you. Although the comments you made about going back to your original stuff, it is a little bit of that. But it's new Brian Cadd, but it's been accepted well. So that must be very warming, as you said before.
Oh, it is. And to get there in 8 days, it's actually number 4 on the overall Australian album charts. So that's a good result because it means that it's gone over several genres. It's not just the country fans, but people who listen to music generally have decided for some reason they're going to buy one. So that's a very pleasing result as well, if you look at it in the broader picture. But I'm just so stoked. I've never been on the country charts, much less number 1.
So here's an interesting philosophical question for you, Brian. I've always wanted to speak to someone like you about this question. Clearly, there is music that is, ding, 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 which is country, and there's stuff that's rock. Where does a song become country?
It's getting a bit harder now with all the people, the young people with their backward baseball caps. I reckon it's like this, and I'll tell you how I know, because when I was 8 years old, in Perth, 6AX back then had a 2-hour program on Sunday mornings, and they played country music. And so I'd mostly just sort of lie on top of my bed with my little tranny, and I'd listen to it, and I got really hooked on it. And they played all the Hanks and all the Slims, all that. And so I got a really good baptism early on in my life. And I've always liked the fact that country music is mostly defined by the way it tells stories. It's a storytelling medium based on the idea that it kind of started in people's homes where people would sit there playing very rudimentary guitar or ukulele or something and then just tell stories in song form. And I think that's just the greatest part about country music. It's got an innocence to it, but it's also got, huge heart and can talk directly about an issue. In the rock business, you sort of couch it with lots of guitars and you don't necessarily tell it straight or down the line, but in country music, they just put their hearts on the line and just look at you in the eye, tell the story. That's the aspect of it. Not only thrills me, but I think thrills country audiences, because they can just sit there and have a masterful storyteller like George Strait or someone come out and, do an hour and a half in front of them and tell all these wonderful stories and put up all these great ideas. I think that's the secret of true country music, and that's what I love.
Because I guess, a lot of rock and roll music people dance to or whatever because of the tune and the beat. I guess if you did the same thing, if you stripped out the words out of a lot of country music, it would be pretty bland, wouldn't it? Is that story component?
Yes, it is. And they don't care about it being bland because it's all about the words and the beautiful melody. Look, there's some incredible singers in country music, and they don't really need to dress it up with 400 Vox amplifiers or
yeah, as long as there's a slide guitar somewhere there.
Yeah. And as long as there's a banjo, but it has to be in the next room.
Brian, I've got to be very careful here that this doesn't turn into an insult, because it's certainly not meant to be. But if someone said name the top 10 Australian singers of all time, you're not going to hit the list. But the gravel in your voice suits the songs that you write, and you probably explained it beautifully already about the storytelling line. But that's a bit. You write songs that we hear the words, we can sing along with, we feel the passion with which you deliver them. Does it concern you, or have you not concern you? Have you written songs that suit your style of singing, or is it just the way it's turned out?
Well, I think it's the way it's turned out. The thing starts with me. It's not as though I write songs and have a singer sitting in the corner singing them. It just starts with me banging around on the piano. And so to a degree, whatever I write, I have to be able to sing. And it takes on the character fairly early. Even with something like Don't You Know It's Magic, which is 2.5 octaves or something, and stretches me to the limit. It was still me that sang the demo and went to Tokyo. And then when Farnham did it, he put another octave on somehow, but he's a freak, but he's lovely. So the essence of the song still sounds like me, I suppose. I'm not, the thing is that when I was living in Nashville, a lot of the time you would write the song, particularly if you're writing with another writer, with a target in mind. So, you would write a song, but it would be for a girl artist. Whereas everything that I write by myself, generally, I write with me singing it, because I don't have anyone else to do that. Well, except Shorik, but he's only awake in the morning.
We had a fella in the studio here, a young local up-and-coming artist, a guy called Dennis Walter, who did a pretty good version of Don't You Know It's Magic, and I think he had a backing singer that you know quite well.
Yeah, no, he plied me with soft drink, and I helped him. But no, he's lovely, man.
He's a good man, isn't he?
I was honoured that he did it, I just get that. It doesn't matter how many times it happens. It's always a real thrill when you sit somewhere and you hear somebody else singing a song you've written. It's just been that's been one great aspect of this whole time. To sit there and have the Pointer Sisters or Joe Cocker or someone, come on the radio and it's just your tune, and that's incredible.
And you obviously sing a lot of the stuff that you write yourself. One of the songs that I really enjoy your version of that was written by obviously someone else is the Rolling Stones' Out of Time. How do you select a non-Brian Cadd song to add to your repertoire?
That's based entirely on performance. It can only be if it's great fun for me to do. Mm. And, the Stones are my favourite thing in the world, so it's not hard for me to borrow a few of their songs every now and again. The Brickley Family, we did a version of Honky Tonk Woman, which the Stones purported to say was the version they liked the most. But it was more about the fact that they're just so fabulous to sing on stage. So whatever the song is that's not a me song, has to be something that I really, really love singing, because that's all about the performance.
Yeah, well, certainly this new album has got some great tracks on it. I'm one of the things, and again, I don't. This may sound like I'm being rude, and I'm absolutely not. It's got a real familiarity to it. So I'm not saying that every song you write sounds the same. That's absolutely not what I'm thinking. But I listened to that album and I'm thinking, this sounds like I've heard it a million times before, because it's like putting on a pair of slippers. It's just a great sound that makes you feel good. Have you ever had that sort of compliment before in terms of this album, that, it sounds like something that has been around forever?
Yeah, that was, even when we were making the album, the musos were really hard to impress.
They generally are.
But, yeah, well, that's right, yeah. the single-digit IQs, but, that was true. People say, the other way they say it is, there's, no matter what the treatment of the songs are, it's still undeniably me. Mm. That's another way of putting it, is that, you're going to get my whatever is me. It's not like I'm going to go on and try and sing like Cocker, although I speak like Cocker. Not to go and sing like anyone, it just has to be me. I think that really where it begins and ends, doesn't it? I suppose with all of us, it's the same with someone like Russell. Russell is undeniable. It doesn't matter whether he does a blues album or whatever. It all still sounds like Russell Martin. And I think I think unique sounding people are often better than really fabulously trained and fantastic singing people who all sound like each other. That makes sense.
So if Clive Palmer knocked on your front door and said, Brian, that thing I did with Russell and put together an orchestra and I'd like you to do the same, would you embrace it warmly?
Oh, yeah.
Just in case Clive's listening, I'm trying to get you a gig here.
Well, there's some stuff in the works, let me say that. But yes, it was a great thing to do. And it's a great thing for me to do because a lot of the stuff that I do suits just the arrangements, So we're in the middle of talking about some stuff now for later on in the year. But regardless of whether it happened or not, yes, I would. But first of all, I'd want him to take me to Italy on his boat. First, and then,
Now, while we're talking to Australian rock classic, one of our favourite listeners, David Barnes, has just suggested that he's got third row seats for Shuriken Cadd in Geelong on August the 11th. What can we expect on that night apart from a hell of a lot of fun?
Well, that's the principal tonic. But there's a lot of hit songs, because we've been around a long time, and we do lots of stuff together, and we tell virtual stories. And it's based on the idea that we've known each other since we were kids, 20 years old, 18 years old, and so there's nothing much we can do to scare each other or turn each other off. It turns into a sort of a slugfest, which is often fun. And the audience loves that. They really like it because they can feel the friendship and the sense of history about it. I think that's true with a lot of older acts who get together sometimes and go out and do things, and people sense that this is not the first rodeo. They've been doing fun things, whether it's on stage or in a studio or in a bar in Hong Kong. They've been doing, lots of fun stuff together for a lot of part of their life, and that's true with Glenn and me. We're just joined at the hip in so many respects.
I actually saw you in Sanctuary Cove, thank you very much, in 1993 as Blazing Salads. And so they said, we've got this couple of blokes who are going around call themselves Blazing Salads. You just see everyone groaning. And then you walked out on stage and we've gone, okay. And then an hour and a half later we thought, they're all right, those two.
Yeah, well, I know that was one of the classic marketing errors, one of the greatest in the history of the modern music world, because we called it Blazing Salads, which in and of itself, it wasn't a great idea. Then on the front cover, we had a picture of a salad on fire. That's a great idea. And at no point did we ever mention Shuriken Cadd.
Well, it was a corporate event, and they normally got some decent acts in, and we've never heard of this. I think really, I know the budgets are tight. It was just a sensational night. The first time I'd seen you live, and it was just blew us away. Hey Brian, we've got to get going because we've got a really important song to play called "You Know What to Say" shortly. But before we do, we should just give a bit of a plug for some of those dates. We'll assume that people who are listening are mainly in and around Geelong. So Saturday, August 10, South Bank, I'm assuming that's at Crown. Then there's the one in Geelong on Sunday the 11th. Friday the 16th at Frankston, just over the bay from here. August the 18th in Cowes on Phillip Island. And then you're all over the place, Queensland, Sydney, New South Wales, all sorts of places. You can get your tickets if you like by going to briancadd.com. That shouldn't be too hard to remember, I wouldn't have thought. briancadd.com. Go and choose where the option that says live, and you'll be able to buy tickets there.
Yes, that's right.
And in the meantime, go and have a look at this new country album sensation called Dream Train. It is currently number one on the country charts after 8 days in the marketplace, and that in itself is a wonderful story. But we heard one track earlier which I'd heard for the first time. I believe, Neil, you're going to play the track which you also played last week, and it is just one of those ones you hear first and you go, ooh, I like that. And the more you hear it, the more you like it. It's a bit like Ginger Man for me all those years ago. Let's hope that this album is what it should be, and that is an Australian classic. Brian Cadd, you are a superstar, and thanks for your time this morning.
And
Thanks for having me once again.
No, absolute pleasure. And folks, don't just stream it. Because if you stream it, Brian gets about 0.001 of a cent, and that's not how we want to reward people like Brian Cadd. Go and buy the album. I think at the moment, if you buy the album on the website, it comes through signed, I think, doesn't it? Or did you just sign mine specially?
No. I sign them.
Yeah, and there's LP versions. You can buy them on vinyl for people who've still got record players. I reckon that'd be the go. I don't have a record player at the moment, but go and buy the album so that a few bucks end up in his pocket so that he can continue to get around and tour. That'd be the way to tackle it.
couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you very much. I'll send you the link and you can use it on your website. Brian Cadd, thanks for being a friend of the Two Blokes Chatting, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
See you soon.